Hey guys, this is my labour and delivery story. Hang on. I'm not sure how long I'm going to have because he's asleep, but he's been asleep for a while, so I'll probably wake up soon. I tried doing this video yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, I can't remember, but basically he was being fussy and everything, so doing it today. Probably have to be in 2 parts maybe. So first of all, start off when it all happened. So it was on the 1st of May, that's when he was born. It was about 6:30 in the morning, I think, and I had this pain. I'm not sure, it was different to a Braxton Hicks contractions, but I didn't really think much of it. It wasn't really that painful. I mean, it hurt, but wasn't agony. So I fell back asleep, and then I woke up at 7:15, I think, roughly. And I needed the toilet, like usual, because I'm always up normally around that time needing the toilet. And I had another pain, because I was debating whether to get up or not, basically, because I was just lying in bed. And then I decided to get up, so I went to get up, and there was this gush of watery stuff. So it felt like I weed myself, but I hadn't. So I needed a toilet anyway, so I went downstairs to the toilet. And then when I went to walk out the bathroom, there was another big gush, and basically it soaked all the way through my trousers, everything. It really did look like I'd wet myself. So I thought, well, this must be my waters breaking. And again, I had another pain. I think they're about every 10 minutes at that point, roughly. So I went upstairs to tell my mum, and she said, well, you need to start timing them. When I was speaking to her in her room, I had 2 contractions, and they were quite painful. It was sort of like it's hard to explain what they're like, really. Now they're gone, I know it's not a pain you forget, but it's a bit difficult to explain. They're really not nice anyway. It's sort of like, they are like sort of waves. It started off from my sides, actually. My back didn't really start hurting until they got really bad, but to start with they were just on my sides, and it would move all across the front of my stomach, and it was just like someone was twisting your insides, or inside your stomach, and then it would build up, and then it would gradually wear off, and then obviously you'll get another one. But yeah, so I went back downstairs, got changed. I had to stuff a toilet roll in my underwear because I didn't have pads, because me and my mum don't use them normally, because we didn't have any in the house. So I just had to do that, which didn't do anything. And then I went on the laptop, came downstairs. Well, actually, Jake was getting up at 8. Luckily, he was actually here. And he woke up and was just like, oh, you're right, like normal. I was like, oh, yeah. And then I just said casually, oh, my waters broke, about half an hour ago. And he was like, oh, he didn't tell me. But there's not really any point. I mean, he was waking up at 8 anyway, and it's not exactly like I'm going to have him. I wasn't going to give birth within the hour. So yeah, I got the contraption timer up on the internet, started timing them. They were really irregular at first. They would last for about 30 seconds to start with, and they were about like 10 minutes, then 9 minutes. And then gradually, within the hour, they got a lot closer together. I think it ended up being about 6 minutes, then 5 minutes. They'd last about 40 seconds, sometimes it would be a minute. And then my mum said, well, let's all go take the dogs out down the park, because gravity is obviously the best way of getting things moving, which it really did. It was really painful at that point. I was sitting, I had breakfast, and every time I got one, I didn't talk to anyone. I was just sort of focusing on dealing with the pain. And then when we were walking the dogs, Jake timed on his phone, and they were getting a lot closer together just from walking or being upright. They were about every 3 minutes, I think, and they were lasting about 40 seconds. And then when we were walking, we stopped because the dogs were running around. There was a whole other big gush of water, and literally then it soaked through everything, and it was in public, so I didn't really want everyone to see. And so I said, right, I need to go back home. so the dogs didn't get much of a walk. But anyway, went back home, had to sit on a towel. There was no point changing again, so I just had to sit and wet stuff, seeing as we're going to the hospital anyway. So at that point we phoned the hospital. I said, you know, what happened about the contractions, and the woman asked how often they were, and they were about every 3 minutes at that point. But I said they're not exactly regular yet. She just said, well, it's up to you if you want to come in and be checked or stay there. So I just said I'd rather come in, because my waters had broken, just to be checked and see how I was. So while that was going on, we had to wait for my mum's boyfriend to come back to pick us up, but he lives like an hour and a half away. So I just went outside. We were all standing outside. I was standing up, trying to get things going, which it really did, because when I was standing outside in my garden, they were coming every minute, and they were lasting about, well, some of them were lasting a minute long as well, and they got that close together, and then that's when, you know, things were really moving quite fast. And my mum said, well, we need to go like now. And by that point I was in so much pain I could barely walk. Every time I got one, because it's so often, it just felt like I was constantly having one. I had to literally just scrunch up because it was so painful. And then eventually we got in the car, and I didn't speak to anyone, I just kept silent really, which was how my mum was, which she found quite, well, she wasn't laughing at me or anything, but she just found that quite amusing, because that's how she was as well in labour. So got to the hospital at 11, went into I got put into some room, and the midwife came in and I explained everything. She said she'll be there in a minute, so I had to and then she said, well, I'll check you and see how far you are, which was really uncomfortable. And I was 2 centimetres, and she said I was really thin, like really thinned out as well. So she said, well, it's up to you, you can either go home or stay here. She's basically saying go home, but she didn't want to say it. She was just saying you can stay here if you want, and I'll come back in half an hour. So I just said I'd rather do that, because my mum's labours were all really fast. With me, her first child is just 5.5 hours. So my mum was saying, well, I think you should stay in. Plus my mum's labours were all really fast as well. So I figured, well, I'd probably take after my mum, which I ended up taking after her anyway. But so within that half an hour, I can't even explain the pain really. It's just the worst pain ever. You actually feel like you're going to die. By that point I was just crying, saying to my mum, I need something, saying it really hurts. I tried lying down, and that made it way worse. So they went back and got the midwife. It was about half an hour by then, and she came in and just looked at me and said, right, let's go now, because she didn't think that I was going to be, you know, she thought I was going to be in there all day. But she saw how quickly things were moving and said, right, let's go to the labour and delivery room. Took me down there, and I could barely walk, literally, because they were coming so fast. Let me just check the time. So yeah, we got into the labour and delivery room, and then I got left there until I got assigned a midwife, pretty much. And I don't even remember a lot of being in there. I just remember being in so much pain, just crying my eyes out because it hurt so much, and saying I need something, anything, which is when I eventually got gas and air, which did nothing at all. I don't know if it helped. I mean, it helped some people, it did nothing for me. I said to Mum, well, it doesn't help. And I was saying I want the epidural the whole time, which I know, the reason why, I don't actually know, well, I don't know why, obviously I was in pain, but I know that it takes a while for you to get it, which is why I was saying I want it now. But anyway, I was just sitting there, I was on one of those balls, the birthing balls, and my mum said just to rock on that. And I don't really remember too much of that, because I was in so much pain. But yeah, I'm going to have to do a part 2. And then, yeah, so I'm going to do a part 2.